Date is August 20th, 2015. Time is 6:32 p.m. Rick Charette. Rob Collins.
Here.
Jerry Chicaloni.
Here.
Jim Freeman. Ed Comeau.
Present.
David Champion is second. Rich Stacker.
Bill Nelson filling in for Rich Decker.
John Merrigan. Diane Smith. Okay, Mr. Acting Chairman, we do have a call.
There we go. Thank you all for showing up. Appreciate that. We have no alternates to appoint. Public comment, no public. Does anyone here want to make a comment as public? Awesome. Correspondence, George, I believe we have none, is that correct?
That's correct.
No announcements? Does anyone have any announcements that I don't know about? Okay, review and possible approval of July 16, 2015 meeting minutes. Please, let's take a look at that for a minutes. George, did all of that discussion really occur under public comment? All this stuff about driveways and everything else? Or did that merge, did that end up under member comment? I mean, it's listed under public comment, but
I can tell you exactly in just one moment.
I believe it could have, because it was probably one of the worst run meetings I've ever been to.
Give me a second.
We can make the motion. We just make the motion.
Okay, so, what I have under public comments is concerns about setback for the right of way. There was a motion concern from Jim Freeman to hear the selectmen's list of comments. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I was just wondering if that, if,
These were all under public comments exactly as listed.
okay, that is what it is. Anyone want to make a motion?
As I move to accept the Thursday, July 16th, 2015 meeting minutes of Planning Board Brookfield.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Uh,
No vote, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. All we need is the majority of whoever's here. And so the motion carries. 3 in favor, 1 abstention. We don't have to initially record that, but I think the minutes are done with. Okay. New business, driveways. Did Rich send anything with you about driveways? Okay. We had, as you see in the minutes, we had, he had brought up the question of what are the limits on a driveway? And,
Limits meaning what?
well, how many houses, I mean,
Oh, yes.
How many houses
would use the same
and-
driveway, yes.
how good does the driveway just have to be, and, you know.
Had some discussion on this.
Okay, but I think we'd asked him to bring a proposal, and he's not here, and he didn't send it with you, and that's, so that was the driveways. Anyone else have any comments on driveways right now?
Now, that was the issue with driveways in the future eventually possibly becoming thoroughfares and its class. Is that what you-
Possibly, I think Rich, if I understand correctly, Rich was expressing a concern that we may, here in town, have driveways either now or in the future that are servicing enough people and are long enough or narrow enough or steep enough or whatever, that there'd be concern of whether or not life safety could get to the residents and things like that. So, I believe right now we have very little in our ordinances about those kinds of issues. So you could have a 5,000-foot driveway that goes up steep grades and is 12 feet wide, right? And you'd never get a fire truck there. So, certainly not in winter. So, anyway, I think that's what the topic was. George, could you put that on next month's agenda, next meeting's agenda? Thank you. Other new business, discussion of parameters for approved private roads. I think this is the same category. George, could you put it in on the next month's next agenda?
Yes.
Thank you. Also, George, would you do me a favor and just make a note to send a reminder email to Rich or talk to him, whatever. I mean, jog his memory that he's on the agenda for these things. Rich,
Yeah,
Zachary.
okay, yes, yes,
I think that Rich has the action item to bring proposals for these items
yes.
for us
that's
to
good.
discuss. Thank you, because it'll have been a couple months by the time this is going to begin. Okay, any other new business that is not on the agenda? Okay, great. Old business CIP, our our deadline for responses was something like a week ago. George, as far as I heard before the meeting, George has received no additional responses. So only the assessor clerk and the planning board administrative assistant have provided responses so far.
Response to the selectmen. Selectmen have tried to get a copy of what they did last year, and I forget who was asked, but we haven't gotten it yet. We wanted to see what information was provided. I know another conversation has come up. How many of the items that will be on that list now have gone into their own little section? For example, the Heritage Commission. The one year they made, they lumped it with us, and now they're probably doing their own thing. So that's why we wanted a copy of last year's. I don't know if, or I can't find it, or what the issue is. Maybe you folks have a copy.
I thought at that meeting that I looked for a copy. I can't remember if, I know I did at the meeting, not this last one, but the meeting before. I was part of that. And I can't remember if I gave you the copy or I couldn't find a copy, but I remember I specifically looked for a copy at the meeting. So, I just don't remember. I'm sorry, it's been a month ago.
Yes,
During the last selectmen's meeting, you mentioned there was an issue not sending the CIP in because of the issue with where the servers stay. Wasn't there some question about where the servers are supposed to be in the?
Yes,
no, please.
What happened was I had mentioned to the selectmen at that meeting that I had listed that under the possible expenditures on the planning board, and the selectmen suggested that it would be better served to put the server under, I believe, under the selectmen's proposed expenditure list. But I haven't received any further information on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bill,
We'd like to sort this all out, and I think they speak with themselves now. Try to sensibly sort this out and find out what goes under one umbrella and what is passed on to different groups, like the road or whatever you're passing out to different groups, expecting input from Heritage Commission.
okay. The CIP is for the selectmen's benefit in creating the budget.
Right, you know that?
You had asked, you the selectman, I think it was maybe Rich, had asked us, I don't remember the exact date, but had asked us to get it to you guys earlier rather than later. And to meet that deadline, we had set the deadline for the responses to last week. So this meeting, in our August meeting, we would be able to assemble all that, with the idea being that next meeting we would be able to approve it and send it to you guys. So by not having the responses now, we have two choices, I think. Three choices. One is to assemble it with the responses that we've got, in which case you'll get a document that is useless. So probably, we will have dotted the i's and crossed the t's and give you something useless, right? We would met our obligation, but so what, right? The other option would be for us to wait, ask your help in getting everyone to respond, so that we have the data and we'll get it to you a month later than planned, by handling it at our next meeting. Our third course of action would be that we light a fire under everyone's butts, get the responses, say, in the next week or so, and then have a special meeting, maybe instead of the third week, we have a meeting the first week of September. And get it done, done that, get it sort of done on a schedule by having an extra meeting.
If you or George, whoever gives me a list of the people you're waiting for,
Okay.
we'll try round one of gentle persuasion.
Okay.
And then you can put the fire.
Well, I mean,
I will give everybody a call you on the list.
good luck. Yeah, all we can, so, according to the RSAs, the department heads are legally obligated to provide this information to the planning board. It's in the RSAs,
Yeah, no problem with that.
and so they're supposed to do it. We have no recourse other than to.
Send them to prison.
There's no penalties listed in the RSA?
No, well, they'd be violating their oath, because their oath was to uphold the laws, and so in theory you could.
Rules and regulations of the state.
Yeah, so, yes, they could potentially go to court and you'd get thrown out of their office and, I don't know. We're obviously not gonna do that. Right.
You just give me a list, I will make some calls.
And George, if you could also print out, do something to, you know, get the information that was submitted last year, so that,
For each department?
well, at least the final document, so, which summarizes what,
Okay.
right, I mean, you know,
A copy of the final CIP. Is that what you want?
yes. I don't know, I mean, unless you want the actual forms that everyone sent in last year.
Anything better than that.
Uh,
They may want to see the original that they sent in, I don't know.
Well, talk to George, get what you think you need to
Okay.
help get this done. And then, I'm just the vice chairman, you probably have to talk to Rick Charette about, if you wanted this sooner than a couple months from now, ask Rick to schedule
Well, starting the budget, you know, we start in October, it's much easier for the budget, you know, when they're really involved. You know, years ago, it was very complicated, she was right in there on it, so it is much smoother than it was before her. That helps, so we'll
Well,
we'll get back to you.
so if you want to speed up, if you feel like you need to speed up the process, talk to our chairman,
Okay.
and get him to schedule a meeting.
The RSA states that the selectmen have to send the information, correct?
No, we send the information to the selectmen.
No, I mean our request for the information.
We send requests to the department heads, and they're supposed to respond.
Thank you.
And then we collate it, prioritize it, do something, you know, I don't know, whatever there's a few things we're supposed to do to it, and vote on it, and then send that final document to the selectmen to take into account when doing the budget.
We mentioned the Government Wentworth School District. Do we have any word from?
I'm supposed to talk to Ernie Brown, I have not hooked up with him yet, but I will. I want to get the CIP from the school district, a copy of it.
Right, yeah, if we get a copy of that and figure out
I forgot about
our portion value, amount of that, we can do the simple calculation, right,
it. Well, it's based on numbers, how many kids.
right. So we can, I don't know, we'll have to, is that based on this year's kids, for next year's budget? or-
No, we go back, that's 1 or 2 years to go back.
So
So
we
we do
do-
know we have a gigantic increase coming this year, big increase in kids. Gigantic, you know, like in students, I don't know,
So
that's a lot.
10% increase, so that'd be like,
Yeah.
Because we had a low, well, we had I guess it was a small group go out, we had a larger group moving in for next year's graduation, so we had an increase anyway, whatever it is, he had warned us to be prepared. The numbers are higher this coming year. So we're 1 or 2 years behind, I don't know which it is.
okay, but we will, somebody can tell us what our fraction of the,
No.
Ernie knows, he has all the documents, I just didn't meet him. I'm pretty busy, so
yeah,
I didn't get a chance, but I'll remember to stop over at his house and talk to him about this. We'll get it. My fault.
That's some new kids moving in, that's added to the situation too. Which is good to see homes are selling.
And they've got to keep an eye on the school, because if they have any type of large project coming up,
Yes.
it's going to impact us.
Very much so.
so county does not have a CIP, is that correct?
No, the county does not have a CIP. In fact, talking about county CIP similar to ours, the sheriff's department is basically going to have to go out for a Homeland Security grant to upgrade their radio system and their consoles in the tune of $3 million, 3 installments. It's not guaranteed it's a competitive grant, but that's caused because they have no money and they never have a CIP, and there's never any account they can pull from to upgrade their equipment.
I seem to have heard about this before, is this, have they They applied for this previously, haven't they?
They applied for the same Homeland Security grant in 2014, and after they send the application in, they're graded by what they've sent in. And since it's competitive, other towns or other communities were able to get the grant, and they were not focused. And it's unclear if they'll make it this time. Especially, I've noticed at the end of the application, which I have to review for the grant review committee for the county, it states that they have to send in a recent audit.
Financial audit,
Yes.
which we don't have.
Well, it's
got
it's coming. I mean, it is, I think it is done, but still, with the financial situation of the county, I'm not quite sure how that's gonna work its way into the competitiveness of getting it.
You said it was multiple parts, is that multiple installments?
It's multiple, it's a three.
They have to reapply for each part? Okay, so,
But it relies on Congress's ability to appropriate the money. So if we get the first installment, begin the project, and Congress cuts the money, or doesn't appropriate it for this, then the other two installments may not come. It's not guaranteed, it's 3 installments. So, but I brought that up because CIP report, that was it.
okay. So what happens if the additional installments don't come?
The taxpayers are responsible for completing the project.
Is that part of the grant?
You mean, does the grant do the grant conditions actually say that you're responsible for completing the project?
Yes.
Good question. I'll have to write them on, I'll review the grant for that, because that's a good question. I just received the grant conditions, actually.
Okay, anything else on CIP? So, Bill's gonna, the selectmen, I don't know if it's you personally, but the selectmen are gonna try to.
Reach out and see if we can.
You're gonna work with George to get whatever information from last year that would be helpful, and the list of who we're expecting stuff from.
Once we sense the funds needed.
Okay. One thing that wasn't on last year's CIP was, I think, a forestry truck. So that was something that came up I think during the year as, so it won't show up on the list of things from last year, but I think we had thought that it ought to.
A new one?
I have no, we're just collecting information, right? We heard about, somebody thought that we ought to have a forestry truck.
That's where we run into the problems of all this. It's a wish list for people.
Right.
Somebody may want, I'll use the forestry truck, for example. And other people who say, no, we don't really need it. That's added, that could theoretically be added on to the CIP and scare people out of all these expenses coming up. So I don't know how we get things in the budget before they happen.
I think the selectmen could easily have a motion that says we're not going to plan on doing a forestry truck, or whatever pet project you've heard.
Oh, I think some of it too is also for the town, but we get something for the town report to get a sense of the people. See what they want, because it's really their call.
Right, but you guys have a member here, so if you see something that shows up that's going to be on the CIP, you can easily nip it in the bud before it ends up in the final report by having a motion that says that we don't want to consider, project A for the budget. And we would know then at that point that, okay, well, it's not going to show up in the budget, we can just take it out of the CIP report.
I'm not, for the sake of things, I'm not advocating this, but what happens, to use an example, the selectmen did not want any improvements done to the townhouse. It's not true, but I'm using this example. What would happen? You would take it out of it totally?
If that,
I don't think
the,
so.
the report is for you guys. If you wanted something out, we could certainly take it out before it ended up in the final report.
I'm not only.
But I think we would probably only do that as a result of a vote, by the majority. We probably wouldn't just take Zacher's word for it that should be out, right? I mean,
right.
But you guys have to manage expectations. If you know that you're not gonna,
A lot
if
of
you're preparing the budget, you guys are gonna be voting on whether or not to move forward with the budget, right?
That is correct. And
And
there's
so-
certain things we build into the budget. We build, for example, be it repair, remove, or different things we built in. But there's other things that people have on a wish list of things that they really want to do right away. So we may, you'll know, we may come on the floor with a article that's put into the warrant, and we have no control of that. So, for example, about using that building to be repaired, I think we agreed, speaking for myself, it needs to be done in small stages, because that's how all we can afford. And there are other people who might look at it differently and say, hey, you're gonna fix it all in one shot. Is that how you look at it?
Well, you also could, say, we want to do it in one shot, so let's start saving that.
Correct.
Right, put 50,000 on a warrant article on there, for the next few years, and you build up
Right.
$250,000, and you can do a bunch of work.
Right.
Yeah.
Can the selectmen actually put in a warrant article? It just a brainstorm idea. I was thinking to make it so it isn't a wish list, actually put it in a warrant article where at town meeting, the people have to choose if they want to. That would prevent someone wanting a wish list and just saying, oh yeah, let's start putting money away for something, and you have better control over it.
When you look at the bridge, going to Goose Mountain, it was something that we put in 10,000 last year, starting to put money into fixing that. So that was the idea. This came up. Let's start squirreling away some money, and we know, I think, from what he said, got to do it within 5 years. So started the process.
But it was voted on.
That was voted on town meeting.
Yeah, so I think everything should go through town meeting. Nobody should be able to come in and say, well, I think.
There are two ways to get it to the town meeting. One is the selectmen put it on, the other is a petition warrant article, where you can just go and get 20, 25 signatures, and get whatever warrant article you want put on the ballot, and for town meeting. It's money to town meeting.
Oh, the selectmen can just put it on.
Yes,
It's
that's
not a
part
warrant.
of it's a warrant article, but just like with zoning ordinance changes, we can put them on, but a citizen can get do a petition warrant article as well. Same thing for the money spending stuff.
Now, we as selectmen in the past, over years, they used to put every agency that was looking for funding, always they listed every single one we're voting on. Well, maybe 15 years ago, we got it down to the normal ones. We just put that in the budget, because somebody could question it on the floor and take it out. And anything really different or new or out of line, but something that would raise a flag with some people, we have that voted on. For example, the program at the high school recreational thing for Wolf Farm. That would be an example. People came here, it was put in it with $1, and nobody questioned it, so it was voted, wasn't in the budget. And we had citizens come next year for the budget because of that, and the voters can decide whether they want to continue paying the $4,000 some odd dollars a year or not. Mr. White?
Well, okay, listening.
We could get retired more often. Okay, so, yes.
Well, this might get Gary talking. And I don't know if it's appropriate to bring up an asset list during CIP discussion, so that's up to you. Would that be appropriate?
It is something we could do, we could easily do as part of CIP. I think it would, as we've discussed before, I think that would be, it would be something that we could be checking against and saying, oh, well, we've got, before the meeting, George and I were talking about, right? We've got a salt barn, right? Nobody thinks about the salt barn, because, only a road agent goes out there for the most part, right? But at some point, the salt barn's gonna need a new roof and whatever, and if we see an asset list, it's sort of no-brainer to sort of go down and say, oh, how's the salt barn doing? Is it gonna need something in the next 6 years, whatever our time frame is? And I think it makes it a lot easier if we have an asset list to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. If we had an asset list, we would have known about the forestry truck that is ancient. Gary?
We have a road asset list and a buildings asset list. I made it. Now, I really believe that we should have an assets list for everything. This town is not that large. It would not take that much to create the asset list. And it's in business. Everybody in business has an assets list of equipment that needs replacing, repairing, maintenance, whatever the case is. Everybody has an asset list in their computer, hard copy. It's square one. Without that, you don't remember or schedule maintenance. Or you're actually shooting in the dark. Oh, computer B broke. Where's computer B? Jenny's computer. You've got 9 computers. They're part of the asset. I know it's supposed to be under $5,000. It doesn't get paid attention to. But without an assets list, and it's such a simple thing to create, it's where you start. I use it all the time. My spreadsheet, my Excel spreadsheet, every job has got its own assets list in a manner of speaking. And it's a list of item, use, quantity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a history of what went on in the town forever. And when anybody says, well, we didn't do this in 1955 or 85 or 2015, oh yes, you did. You had 6 of them. It's almost indispensable if you want to be organized. I don't see why we don't do it. It's so simple. It's not.
And I like that for insurance purposes too. If something happens, you know, that could be part of our disaster planning where we
Well,
have.
we do have it, we do it for insurance, it's primarily the big things, buildings and just, I guess on computers and everything. But I like one thing you said, Terry, I think that would be easy, even if we just kept a log, that we knew computer A, how often it was.
It's in there, it just needs to
Where's
be.
those stuff, George? Can I ask you?
Let's take a short recess for George to, oh, you don't have to, like,
It's
officially recess.
it's fine away, but
We'll just stop talking, so you don't have to worry about taking minutes. Is what I mean by recess. We'll stop doing business, I guess. We don't
it's a
stop
history thing. I don't mean historical aesthetics. I mean,
But it'd be nice to know if we're working on the server.
and it's a place to start for projections of future costs and needs. I mean, who's going to think of something if you don't have an assets list? Well, and I know it's an insignificant one little item that may break or not break, but this is it. Buildings, this is just a basic copy. Townhouse.
So did this get updated when we, I don't know, we did something?
To the schoolhouse? No. It never, nothing got it. This has just been sitting in there. Maintenance barns, shed. Anytime anything is done to those things, if it gets filed in these particular places, it's history. I mean, it's real estate, town cemetery. Who's gonna, I mean, how many times has this board said, when did they, we've asked Peckham how many times? Do you remember who did this or when it was done or why it was done? And he comes up with some answers, but he's not an encyclopedia. It's basic, it's not, it's so simple.
I agree.
So you've listed the assets there, you haven't listed.
Some of them, I mean, I never really,
The buildings, so the buildings book has a page per building,
and nobody's putting
but it
it,
doesn't say when the building was built, it doesn't say what maintenance has been done, because nobody's updated it, right? But I mean, at the very least, we could,
somebody could take responsibility for it, whether we put that on George or a volunteer for the planning board. I would volunteer if somebody would whip me into shape and would call me and remind me, because I got a lot of stuff in it that
so,
Well, I almost think in some ways, the selectmen should keep part of this because they're the ones
ordering maintenance.
ordering maintenance. And we're on our second generator, we're on, you know, all those types of things. So I think they should be the one entity in their office to log in the things.
road agent maybe as well. I mean, here's our roads, a map, length to the nearest 50 feet, and then a page for every road. Who did what work on when? All the history of the town could be in it. So, like, who's gonna remember what was done on that mess down on Bryce Road? I mean, you remember it.
Mm-hmm. I'll read it.
Well, that's my point. 15 years from now.
You know, very good idea, just log it in and know the history of what's happened, that's it.
Print out a hard copy. It's also in the computer, but a hard copy gets slid in here. And it's a great thing for meetings because you can thumb through it at the meeting. And not everybody's got a laptop in front of them.
No, I think it's great.
Okay, so just to try to get some concrete action from this. Bill, would you like
Yep.
us to send a letter to the selectmen saying there's this buildings book, could you guys please maintain
Okay,
it?
you don't have to send us a letter right now.
Okay.
Okay.
And, you know, who would you want to maintain the road book? I would think maybe the road agent, but maybe it's you guys, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to discuss that as we answer that.
But I would suggest if you want to be the road agent, maybe write it into his contract.
It should be nobody with a fiduciary interest, nothing against them.
That's where I was going, thinking of that, because somebody may be doing exactly your thing where I was thinking along those lines. Because somebody would put their pet project always in there.
It's simple propriety.
Well, this is not things to do, this is things that have been done, right? So, but it could be, both those books could be maintained by your administrative assistant,
Yes,
right? You just ask them to update it when you guys are dealing with the bill,
right.
right? Something happened, let's get it in the book.
All the invoices for what was done in that schoolhouse, not the actual invoice, they should be in a locked file, but a hard copy should be in there, what was done in the schoolhouse. Then somebody can, let's say what I did was a failure for one reason or another, that structurally wasn't adequate. 15 years from now, I'm perhaps deceased or somewhere else. The town can look in here instead of going through whatever filing cabinets they have to go to dig up the information and not know really where to look. It's right there. This work was done, why it was done, who did it, how much it cost. And it's so accessible. I don't know. Anyway.
He's woken up. Good.
You did it.
Well, I always knew that was very important to him, and I thought it was a very good idea, and it seemed like it kind of got shifted away from.
And it's just not hard to do. If it was an astronomical summit to climb, okay, forget it. But
So let me ask, what other assets, big assets, are there that aren't reflected in those books? Do those reflect things like the cemeteries?
yes, they do. It does.
Okay, so the roads, does that include all the culverts on the roads and the bridges?
Well, it has a section for that. For instance, this book, I broke it down this way. Not that this creek can't be improved. This is just how I saw it. Town cemetery, service utilities. I mean, that's generator, any maintenance that was done in this building has to do with utility. Heating system, upgraded cleaning, maintenance. When was the last time it was cleaned? Because it has to be done every 5 years for propane. Heating system, townhouse, septic system. When was the last time the tank was pumped? I have no idea. Well, that's my point. And it really should be done periodically, 5 years maybe on this place. The well and access pit. I'm the only guy that knows what's in that thing out there. If I die, somebody else is going to have to figure out what's in there. It's in there in the wall, actually, but the plan. Equipment and furnishings, that might be getting it a little too picayune, but I don't believe so. Just a master list.
This table came with a warranty.
Yeah, it hasn't, well, the only thing that happened was somebody sat on it once and broke the glass. Electronic equipment. It's nice to know when you upgraded your computers and what was spent. I know it doesn't cost $5,000 for each computer, but when you lump all these little things together, heating system maintenance, it's a chunk of money over a period of time.
And you don't realize that you're paying money for these things, kind of, it's accumulating very quickly.
I think so.
Do something, and this would clearly be glaring expense, we'll use the forestry truck. You just put X amount of dollars into it, it's time to think about it.
Or even just how old the forestry truck is.
I got a fire truck in here, but I don't know.
Do we own tools?
Only
Does the
two,
town own-
only two.
Well, here's vehicles, voting booths, I don't know why I put that in there, but
It's something.
We are on a overhead chainsaw or rock, cracker breaks up rock.
I need your words, I appreciate it.
One of the
See that?
It's reasonably old.
So Gary, you gotta make sure that the bridges are in there, right? 'Cause the Moose Mountain Bridge, Moose Mountain Road Bridge, obviously it's gonna need some serious work. If there are any other bridges or major culverts.
Let me look and see if there's anything here about that.
Well, and another good point is to remember, okay, when the culvert is over on Stony Road, we don't have these reported. And by the way, get the road agent and that's.
No, this should have a separate page for bridges, this is just the roads. Bridges, culverts, Actually, the culvert replacement could be under the road. If we replace a culvert on Burwell Road, then,
Right, you want the road to list that has these 7 culverts at this foot mark, and then for each one, what its condition is, when it was checked, what its condition was, and then if it gets replaced, then it would be like, okay, it's new on this date, you know, or whatever.
and that's something that the road agent really falls under his purview, whether it's billable time. He fixed it, he just briefly, with word processing, it's a snap, and in it goes.
Yeah, I think if certainly a work in progress, but I think parts of it, at least if it gets started, when different people can add with their expertise on the even know, like you said, different things that when they were having culverts there are.
Yeah,
Mary Lou can pick out some things from her bills that she has. And take them.
yeah, I know Eddie, maybe 2 or 3 years ago now, marked all the culverts in town. He had his crew, you know, you see a little yellow, you know, thing on each side of the road where there's a culvert. So he, I think at some point he mentioned that they kept finding more. You know, it's like, you know, there are a lot of them, and probably would be bad to have a list of where they are. And Eddie, I'm sure knows which ones, you know, he's probably looked at all of them. He's a thorough guy, but he may not always be our road agent, right? So it'd be nice if, when we did have a new road agent and they were bidding on it, right, you bid that contract out periodically, right?
Yes.
Right.
For the road agent, it was not, it was done maybe 6 years ago, whatever it was. We just renewed the contract, and the potential for coming up would be another year and a half.
Yeah, but it's
One that's coming up, for example, is the one for doing the evaluations of the property.
You know, whether you do this hard copy, electronically, or both, I don't understand how you can ever keep track of what you did or what's been done and use that and without a basis like this, whether it's in a spreadsheet, it should be both places, I think, because it's nice to be able to pick up a book. But I'm old fashioned, I'm an old guy. I was born before the hand calculator was invented. But the thing is, yeah. But and then it's a great thing to use for a projection.
And some of the stuff can be hunted out from town reports.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the
there's
hunting is the problem.
I understand, so going forward, this is great.
In the absence of doing something like this, Gary, what you're left with is winging it, which has worked for the town for well enough for many years, and sometimes it bites you in the butt. And, you know, a lot of times you get by.
It was so cumbersome, people are gonna fight it. If we start now, go forward, and then start piecing pieces a little at a time, people will say, this is the greatest thing. Gary should have mentioned this a year ago.
Every job I do this way.
Oh, okay.
And I have to do it in order to keep organized.
Oh, good.
Ed,
In order to have it done, just as we have rules of procedure, are the selectmen gonna have to come up with a rule of procedure or the responsibility? Like, somebody has to do it. I mean, the
Well,
idea is
we're
fine.
gonna have it.
Okay. Because if you don't do that, then people will forget to do it.
so does everyone know where these binders live?
If I may, the planning board had made me responsible for these binders, and so I've been locking them in my file cabinets.
Okay, so it's gonna be hard for the selectmen to get them updated if they're locked away, right?
Right.
We need to agree on where they're gonna be and how they're gonna be accessed, right? But we want them to be updated and we want them to be used when they're needed.
One suggestion I might have is that, for example, we were with the selectmen and think it's part of your job or somebody's job. Once you get a photocopy, so in case that goes missing, there's a backup, something or other. And it's nice to say it's on a computer or something, but there's a hard copy somewhere.
Can I ask you a question? Just as an example, how does the road agent, when he goes out and, I mean, I know he's got a contract, I really don't understand the mechanics of it. Does he bill the town for work done?
Yes,
So he submits a bill.
that's correct.
And that is a statement of what was done, it has a date on it,
Excellent.
and it has how much was spent. A nice
He
piece
says
of,
how many hours he put in to do a job. The riprap, I'll use it.
that can become very thick after a while, but you can fit an awful lot of stuff in there. I mean, you might come up with a new one every 3 years or something, I don't know, but if he's submitting that, the work's already been done. It's just a matter of someone has to put the 3 holes in it.
Well, I'm not gonna making a copy of the bill and put in there, it can be researched, so he noted it and put it in words, riprap put on Langford Road, stage
However you
one,
wanna do
stage
it.
two. If somebody wants to get that stuff, then they can go hunt further, at least it shows when it was done. Sealing the cracks, cutting the brush on the side of the road, we decided to do it. It was last year, questionable, or this year, it's questionable for the money. And then he'll come to the last week and, can be done, so. That type of thing, but to list, put a copy of the bills in there, I think it's not realistic.
Okay,
But listing the work to be done, I think is realistic.
and you might have a general category in the back, that's general category, because you can't make a note for every road, and you might do 15 roads with one procedure, so you're gonna have a general category for that thing, and that goes generally, did 15 roads, whatever,
Yeah, then you know, oh, cut the brush 3 years ago,
yeah.
right? And, get to know that, okay, well,
Yeah.
if we don't do it at least every 3 years, it gets really out
But
of control.
again, that information is out there for people to see by looking at the town report and looking at who gets paid what. But this would be a lot easier for anybody to do it this way.
And if it's a PDF document, you can search it.
So if you're gonna scan it, if you're gonna copy it every year, you could scan it and have a soft copy of the, what's current up to the last year, so. Okay, anything else on CIP? Okay.
Can I go back to sleep now?
Master plan. I think we had homework, and part of that was to read the master plan and look for others that we liked. I know that David Champy emailed links to a couple, I believe.
Of examples of similar sized towns.
Yes. And I don't remember which towns they were. I do remember briefly looking at them, but it was when he sent it out, which was almost a month ago, so. Did anyone else look at anything? Do anything?
I looked at the ones David sent me.
Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, actually, and I was gonna work on them too, but 2 weeks ago, my house was directly struck by lightning. Every one of my computers is dead.
We got struck as well.
I'm buying all new equipment because all my XP Pro stuff totally fried.
And
That's where it hit. I knew it was around me somewhere. Oh, I got you.
At 4 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
you remember that?
Yeah, we got one of our.
My hickory tree.
You mean all your files and everything?
Fortunately, one of my computers does not stay hooked up. Because I only back up once every 3 weeks when I get, the Spirit moves me. I slaved my hard drive from that and was able to recover my documents. But all my programs are dead, they're gone. And I was at XP Pro now for 12 years, and that's history because you can't support it anymore. I got
I don't even know what that is.
It was the last good, decent version of Windows.
It
It
came
was
out
12
my
years ago.
hickory tree, hit the dog run cable into the house, burned all my outlets out and all the wiring in the back of my house. I had to rewire the whole back of my house.
So, yeah, one of our pine trees along the road got struck, and we have the invisible fence that goes along around like 3 acres of our property, goes right at the base of that tree, carried the current into that circuit where that was plugged into our house, blew everything on that circuit, so it's
I
like.
think the dogs weren't out. The hair would have been sticking
Yeah, light them
out.
up. No, it was like, it was like our phone, fridge,
Yeah,
the dog fence, the energizer for the electric fence for the animals.
yeah.
So it's like, it sounds like less than you guys, but it's, $6,000 or $7,000 for the damage.
Same thing, well, the computers aren't expensive anymore, they're gone. Anyway, I'm out buying all new software now for the upgrade and stuff. Anyway. Well, with all that, it took me 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before I got around to fixing things and getting them back up and running. So I didn't mess with Dave's stuff, but I read it when he sent it to me, which was right before we had that storm. And I really liked some of those master plans. They were very simple and brief. Whether they're appropriate for this town is another story, but they could be tailored, that type of thing. I already told you what I would do last time. I would take the existing master plan and redline all the things we don't like, for whatever reason, for just this conversation, and propose any things that should be in there, and discuss the general philosophical bents that we wish to make the master plan. I mean, after all, it's gonna go to the town for vote, right?
We'll go for public hearing.
Public hearing.
We vote on it.
Yeah, but they go to public.
Public will be able to bitch about it.
Yeah. That's how I would approach it, and I also stated that I would have the discussion by the planning board, and I would time limit the conversations. And nobody would get, I don't believe everybody's nose will get out of joint. You've got 2 minutes to make your point, that's adequate, so that, I'm a bloviator, some of us are. And I don't need to talk as much. And so does a lot. Make your point, then I think we might get some work done. Otherwise, we're all talking about something, it's 9 o'clock and we're all dead. You know the deal. I think the time constraints on making your point, we should all adhere to it voluntarily. Make your point, then have somebody else that wants to discuss that point, whether it's good or bad, then maybe we move to vote on it. But we should set up parameters, otherwise we sit and talk and talk and talk, and we get nothing done. We did last time anyway, I don't know. That's my suggestion. I did my homework and that's what I came up with.
Okay.
That's it.
Ed?
I wish I had them in front of me, and I'm hoping that when we're all together again, we could actually have those examples of other master plans in front of us, because they're written the same way as ours. They're just worded different. It still says the same sustainable development language in it, in its own way. It's like they just changed the words, but it still leads you to the same direction. It still leads you to everything should be in town center, and areas external to that are either conservation land and nowhere land. It's the same sustainable development planning concepts being used in every single master plan. They're just worded different, so it sounds like it's coming from that town, and I can prove it to you. By looking at ours and getting theirs, you could see how they're all the same.
The one I read from Jaffe was a lot different. I think it was Jaffe. I wish I could get into my computer. I don't remember which one. That was the one that Dave sent, that I thought was a little interesting. It was only 7 or 8 pages long. It was not very extensive. And it really wasn't quite as bad as on the sustainability aspect of things.
I think it was that one that actually had a paragraph on property rights.
Yes, there was a quote.
It mentioned property rights,
Yes.
which is, the antithesis of sustainable everything, right?
It did. It was more pointed toward that. Yes, that was the one I liked.
Jaffe is Jaffe.
Got me. I'm fried. I can't look it up.
Gary got struck by lightning as well. It should be in your email.
Yeah, you'll have it in your email. Actually, I still have it in my email. I could look it up. What am I saying? My emails are on the cloud, my new site. I just, I could go look it up.
I'll look at that, because that sounds good. That's the first master plan I've ever heard of that says something about private property right protection.
That one is the only one.
I think I saw one other when I was looking previously. One other that I found that had, the 20, unless it was like 20 bullet points that were all, sustainability UN stuff. And the last one was that property rights are important.
I wonder if you could, the master plan is only an advisory document, but people are using it as if it's a legal document. That should be in there, where this is only advisory. It's not, it's supposed to be like I don't want to use the word vision, but it's like a vision statement of how you want the town to look or be. It's not supposed to be a document you refer to make everything comport to it.
Yeah, but I think that the zoning ordinance is required to be consistent with the master plan.
Would it be helpful? You don't need surveys, but I like them. To somehow, this is a hard way to go on. All of these things are philosophical concepts, right? Obviously, that's what defines the direction you want to take something. What's your philosophy? You know, property rights, sustainable development. Is there any way to write up something, perhaps, I could attempt it, and deploy it and say, everybody look at this, and how do you feel about this, and how do you feel about that? And these are the things that are defined by this. When you talk sustainable development, you will be giving up this as a consequence, or whatever. I don't know, does that make any sense?
I think that a survey is a good tool for gathering information from large number of people. It can be more effective than trying to pack a room full of people and then somehow listen to them and make any sense out of it. You tend to just hear the loudest voice, not the silent majority or whatever we might have here. So I'm not sure whether you can, in a survey, ask people, do you want sustainable development and smart growth, or do you want, I don't know, dumb growth, or whatever the opposite of smart growth is. But you can probably ask them questions like, do you think that we should rezone the area around the townhouse to be small lots and mixed commercial and residential, or retail shops or whatever, right? And some people, which is a village district, right? That's what you get for your downtown area. It's something zoned so that you have small pieces of property.